Well, hello, Winnie. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hi, I can hear you.
How are you?
Good. How are you? I've been meaning to connect with you, and every day is like, I gotta call her, I gotta call her.
It's baptism by fire. I'm sure you have a lot on your plate and there's plenty of time, but we need to grab lunch or something.
Yes, I would love that.
Good, me too. And Tasha, good afternoon. I was going to say good morning. Good afternoon to you as well. Thanks for joining us. We
Thank you,
will,
Erin. Thank you for hosting this.
of course, and we'll just give it another minute or two, guys. It's 12:59. We'll give it another minute or two just to see if we have anyone else hop on, and then we'll just get started right away. I want to be respectful of your time, and um, we'll get rocking and rolling here in about 2 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Winnie.
Hi.
I'm waving and I'm not even on the video, so that was really fun. Let me try that again. All right, I'm going to try that again. Hi. I'm driving to the office to be in the training room.
Oh, fun. I forget
I
what
thought
in
that might
person
make
is
me a
like.
little bit more disciplined.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'll let you drive.
All right. See you in a minute.
Bye.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead, ladies, and rock and roll if that's okay with you. And then if folks just, happen to hop on, obviously they're welcome to do so. So is that all right? We'll go ahead and get started.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Now, Tasha, I know you're driving. I know that Winnie is new to the business. You've been in the business a while, haven't you?
Yes, I am going on 11 years.
Okay, good for you. I love that you're the type of agent, as am I, who even having been in the business for a long time, we're always learning, right? So, it behooves us to attend an open house class, although I'm sure you have that down to a science and have a lot of experience in it. So thank you for joining us today. A little bit about myself. I like to just kind of give folks a background if I've never taught in front of you before, just so you know who the heck I am and why is Erin teaching this class. I have kind of an interesting story when it comes to open houses because when I got into the business almost 19 years ago, I was brand new to Minnesota. So my husband had accepted a position up here, and it was the first time in our married life with 4 little boys that I didn't have to work if I didn't want to. And so I did take the first year off when we moved to Minnesota and just kind of ingratiated myself, got the kids enrolled in school, got the house set up, all that kind of good stuff. And then I realized, this stay at home thing is kind of nice, but I'm someone who likes to be in constant motion. So what am I going to do? What's my next adventure? Fast forward, hopped into real estate. My greatest fear was, as a brand new agent, as I know that it is for a lot of new agents, may or may not have been for you ladies, is who's gonna want to work with me? I'm brand new, and to further drive that home and create anxiety within me was the fact that I really didn't know anyone in Minnesota. The extent of my adult interaction thus far in that first year was dropping the kids off at school, picking them up, waving hi to the other parents, and meeting a few neighbor people. So I didn't have the sphere that a lot of agents do when they first get into the business. I didn't go to grade school or middle school, high school, college, nothing like that up here, and we didn't have any family here. So I'll never forget the first day in the office. I started at Edina Realty. The first day in the office, I went to the front desk and dutifully turned in my onboarding paperwork to the front desk person and said, "Okay, what's next? Like, I'm ready to light this real estate world on fire." And I'm like, "Okay, where do I go? Who's going to direct me?" And it was crickets. There was no one. And they just didn't have 19 years ago some of the training, coaching, and mentoring that we do today. And certainly, and I'm not speaking ill of Edina Realty at all. I spent 10 years there. It's a great company, but even today, they don't have the type of training support that we have at Keller Williams. So I really was, and it became abundantly clear to me in that moment on my own. And it was sink or swim, figure it out, or pack it up. And so I distinctly remember going back to the little pod area where they said I could, have a locked cabinet and put my things on kind of a desk area. And I sat down and I thought, okay, what do I do next? Like literally, there was no direction. And actually, in retrospect, I look back at that as probably being one of the best things that could have possibly happened to me, because what it caused me to do was have to make that decision. Was I going to sit there and fall prey to the victim mentality, poor me, who's going to fix this for me, or who's going to hold my hand, and lead me to greener pastures? Or was I going to roll up my sleeves and dig in and figure it out? And so the one thing that you'll learn about me as we kind of go through this class and I share my story is, I've had a lot of failures. I've failed forward a lot, but the one thing that I have always had going for me is, I'm really tenacious and I was consistent. So while I made a lot of mistakes along the way in holding open houses, because that's how I learned, right? And that's where the growth happens. You guys all know that. The one thing that I had going for me was I was all in and I was fully committed to building my business. And the avenue that I landed on, kind of by accident, really, there was no genius moment that I had, was through open houses. And here's why. Um, as I sat there through tears, I called my husband and said, I think I just made a huge mistake. And he's like, what are you talking about? You just left the house like 2 hours ago, and you were full of vim and fire and vigor and ready to, rock the real estate world. And I said, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know anyone. There's no one here to help me. I don't know where to go. Where am I supposed to get this database and this sphere that people are talking about? And I had another moment of clarity where the Marine in him came out and said, suck it up, Buttercup. Like, you made this decision to get into real estate. So figure it out. Like, if anyone can figure it out, it's going to be you. And so I wiped my tears and I did just that. And I thought, what could I be doing that's not going to cost me a lot of money? Because, of course, I didn't have a client yet. And all I had done up until that point is spend money on getting licensed. So, what was it that I could do that wasn't going to cost me a lot of money, but would allow me to do some form of lead generation and get my name out there and get in front of as many people as possible, all at once? And so what came to me in that moment was open houses. Okay, I can hold an open house. There's not, my thought process in the beginning was, how hard can that be? And we all know open houses aren't difficult to hold, right? But I will say real estate and open houses in particular are as much of an art as they are a science, right? I mean, anyone can pull up curbside, park the car, toss a sign in the front yard, unlock a house, open it up, and stand there and greet people. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone can do that. It's not difficult to do that. And that is what I did for several months, right? Because I didn't know any better. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that um, philosophy or way of doing open houses. It's just that what I did was I improved with every open house that I held. And I remember as a new agent holding my first open house and being scared to death and nervous. And I would follow people around that open house like a lost little puppy dog, right? Just like peppering them with questions and, like probably just annoying the heck out of most of them, right? Scaring them away instead of drawing them in. And that was okay because that helped me formulate better questions to ask, better approaches to take when people would come through my open houses. So this PowerPoint that I'm going to share with you is going to help me, walk through the things that I have put together over the years that ultimately ended up working really, really well, to the point of my first year in real estate, I was Rookie of the Year in my office. And I share that with you because if I can do that anyone can, because I literally had zero sphere here when I got into the business. And so if I was able to do that with no sphere and no contacts, that means anyone can do it. Someone like me who was in the same position, and especially agents who have some sort of base of family, friends, or sphere already in place. Does that sound good?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Awesome.
And we'll make this absolutely as interactive as you guys allow it to be. So if you have questions as we go through out the presentation, please feel free to unmute yourself, ask away. I want this to be collaborative, and I want to make sure that we're hitting things that you guys are most interested in learning about. Okay. All right.
I have with me now Tara Karsten, brand new agent on my team, brand new agent in general.
Okay.
So
Did
we
you
are
say
here together.
awesome? And did you say Tara?
Yes.
Hi, Tara. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tasha, I'm waving too. I just waved, even though my camera's on. Oh, force of habit. Okay.
I was waving earlier. Oh, I'm not on screen.
All right. So, the general public, so to speak, right? And also, to a large extent, our sellers are under the impression that our open houses are to get their home sold. And sometimes that is a byproduct of holding an open house, right? On occasion, we will sell our own listings through open houses. However, the dirty little secret in real estate is we hold open houses. Why? Who can tell me?
Need buyers.
Yeah, we need buyers. We leverage our open houses to grow our database and to set appointments, right? Those should be our primary goals and focus of holding open houses. All right. So I want you guys to go into, open houses with that mindset. It's to leverage them to grow your database and set appointments. All right. The next thing that I would say is key is consistency. Okay. And this is where I used to run the productivity coaching program there in Burnsville. So I've also coached a lot of agents just getting into the business, right? And I'm an instructor at MN Realty School. So I'm in front of a large audience of new agents and people just getting into the business. And what I hear by and large is when agents who are new start doing open houses and they don't immediately get traction, i.e., they're not getting a lot of people through their open houses, or they feel like they're not picking up clients, what they do is they throw in the towel, right? Like that was a big fat waste of my Saturday, or that was a big fat waste of my Sunday. I could have spent, time on the couch watching the Vikings play, or I could have been, at the lake on the boat or whatever, right? And so, and that's natural. That's human nature, right? We all want the immediate results, right? Here, I promise you, when I tell you, if you do this, it will pay off in dividends. Don't be that agent that gives up after having a bad weekend or even a bad month of open houses. If you're consistent in holding open houses, it really is the fastest and most cost-effective way for you to get business. And you have to go into it realizing that not every single open house is going to be a success. Now, you can change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Yes, you guys have heard that bold law before. And here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. If you commit to doing open houses on a consistent basis all year long, you just will have open houses that feel like a flop. But here's where I want you to change the way you look at things. Was it really? Was it really a flop if you had absolutely no one walk through your open house on a Sunday?
I want to say yes, but
No.
by your tone, I'm thinking no.
All right. I was waiting to see if someone was going to pick up on this. You are correct, Tasha. And I love this. I love this. I love the interaction back and forth here. You're right. It's no. The answer is no. And here's why. And this became abundantly clear to me after I had been in the business about 3 months. It hit me square between the eyes walking out of church on Sunday. I had been doing open houses consistently. I live in Lakeville, and I would purposely pick like Lakeville, Apple Valley, Farmington, kind of South Metro, right? Because that's where I wanted to initially grow my business. And I was doing open houses without fail every single weekend after weekend after weekend after weekend. I was walking out of church one Sunday, and a neighbor lady of mine chased me down literally in the parking lot. Erin, do you have a second? Erin. I'm like, oh, hey, Marianne, how are you? She's like, good. Oh, I'm so glad I caught you. My sister is thinking about selling her house in Farmington, and I told her about you. I just am so impressed with how successful in such a short amount of time you've become. Would you mind if I shared your contact information with her? And I looked to my left, I looked to my right, I looked behind me, and I'm like, is she talking to me? Successful? Like, what? And of course, I wasn't about ready to correct her, right? Like, had she asked me, I certainly would have been forthright and, transparent, but I wasn't about ready to say, what do you mean? Here's what was happening. She said, I see your open house signs everywhere, every weekend. So when I challenge you to change the way you look at things, while I might not have had traffic through an open house that particular weekend, guess what I did get? Visibility.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is when you first get into the business, or if you've been in the business of 11 years like Tasha has, double the number of open house signs that you have. As a brand new agent, one of your first investments should be open house signs with your name on them, or the name of your team on them, or however you're going to brand yourself, right? I happen to be really fortunate in that I have kind of a fun last name to play off of. Duckworth, Lucky Duck, Team Duck, call us, we'll help you get your ducks in a row, call us, we give a duck. I mean, we have all kinds of fun taglines that we can use, right? And so it's a name that kind of sticks with people and they remember. So my point is this: get your open house signs out early and put as many as your budget will allow you to, afford to buy in the beginning, and get your name out there, because whether you're doing transactions or not, perception is reality. And her perception was that I was this brand new agent who had somehow skyrocketed to the stratosphere because she saw my open house signs everywhere. And guess what? It got me a piece of business, right? Any questions on that? Nope.
No,
We're good. Okay.
good information.
Awesome.
Really good.
Here's the other thing that I learned by mistake. Holiday or open houses rather, coffee's kicking in, ladies. Sorry. Holding opens on holiday weekends because that's when the serious buyers are out looking. So I was the newbie in the office. I was taking every open house available. I raised my hand. In fact, this was before we had closed Facebook groups. I would show up at the office first thing Monday morning, and I would immediately go around the office to the big rainmakers, and I would knock on their office door. Hey, looking for an open house this weekend? Who has one? I'd love to hold it open for you. And they were happy to give me open house opportunities on 4th of July weekend, on Easter weekend, on Mother's Day weekend, all the holiday weekends. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go out and give up every single holiday weekend, but here's what I'll tell you. If you're willing to do that and pay your dues your first year or two in real estate, your business is going to blow up. It just will. And here's what I found out by mistake. I am holding open houses on these holiday weekends because the rainmakers are perfectly happy to not have to work holiday weekends themselves, right? They've already paid their dues. They've already built their business. They want to be up at the cabin, right, for the weekend, or visiting grandma on Easter. They all thought I was nuts, for taking these open house opportunities on the holidays. And here's what I realized. I began to notice that on the holiday weekends, my ability to pick up buyers was exponential compared to just your standard everyday weekend. Why do you think that might be?
I see the answer. Well, I think it's because they're the serious buyers. They want to get into a house. So
absolutely, you hit the nail right on the head. If it's serious buyers that are out on those weekends, otherwise they're up at the cabin on the boat or visiting grandma at Easter, right? So the serious buyers, guys, are out on the holiday weekends because they are on the hunt. They need to find something yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I discovered was, because I was one of the few agents, or at least this was the story I created in my mind, I was one of the few agents who was doing open houses consistently weekend after weekend after weekend. So even though I was a newbie, I was a more experienced newbie, or had more experience at open houses than all the other newbies, because I was doing them consistently every weekend. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Plugging right along. All right. Here's the other thing. Now, I have to give this caveat. We are in a, I don't even know if we can call it a seller's market anymore. There's no inventory. There's no inventory out there, right? So, we are in a seller's market. Of course, I'm being a bit facetious, but inventory is really tight right now. And so, in your more stabilized market, of course, it's easier to find open houses and be more strategic and pick, as I quote, a winner when you are looking for an open house, because there's typically a plethora of open houses to choose from, right? So I recognize that right now in the climate that we're in, because homes are selling so quickly, there aren't as many open house opportunities. All the more reason for you to be that agent in the office that the rainmakers think of when they have open house opportunities, right? So a piece of advice from that perspective is go into the office, make sure you're rubbing elbows with the other agents. If I have open houses to give out because we have more listings than we can hold open ourselves, here's what I'm going to look for first. I don't care if they've been in the business, 10 months or 10 years. If it's someone who I see consistently in the office that I view as someone who's getting after it and is hungry for business, I'm going to give you my open house opportunity likely over someone who's been in the business for 10 years and I never see. Right? Because I know you're plugged in, I know you're hungry, I know that you're looking for an opportunity, and you're likely going to do a really good job for me. Okay. So, a piece of advice for the newer agents is get into the office as much as you can. Again, guys, everything I say, I always feel like I'm saying with a caveat right now because of COVID and the pandemic. And I know that the offices aren't, as frequented as they normally are. However, you can still be in there, you can still be masked, you can still be safe and still get to know people. So I would tell new agents, even if you don't have one lick of business to be working on, take a book, bring your laptop, go sit in the resource area and just be a sponge. Like just be in the environment, be a sponge, introduce yourself to agents and get to know them so that when open house opportunities do become available, they think of you or you're around. Okay. So I'm going to go back to when we're in a more, so I guess my message is if there's an open house opportunity, take it because they're few and far between right now. When we're not in a seller's market and the market begins to stabilize, then what I recommend is that you be more strategic about picking a winner. And what I mean by a winner is I would consider things like picking a price range with a lot of active buyers in it. I know it sounds super sexy and fun and fancy or whatever you want to call it to say as a brand new agent that you're holding a 500 or 600 or $400,000 listing open, and those can be nice. However, what I'll also tell you is there are a heck of a lot more buyers that are in the 200 to 300 price range or the 200 to 250 price range. And so if you're being strategic and you're going to go spend 2 hours of your time, and really it's closer to 3 by the time you put out signs, hold the open, close up shop and get home. So if you're going to give up a better part of a Saturday or Sunday or both, please make it worth your while, right? And be strategic in the open houses that you choose. So if I can get in front of 20 buyers coming through a listing that's priced at 225 instead of 5 buyers by holding an open house that's listed at 500,000, I'm going to pick the $200,000 listing all day long because my ability to get in front of more buyers during that 2-hour time frame is much greater. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. I would also say that first time home buyers, which typically will land in that price point, they're hungry for education and information. And so be the type of agent who comes armed with going there to educate buyers. Because here's the other thing, and I've been guilty of this myself, and that's why I can speak to it. We get lazy. I've gotten lazy before. I've gone to open houses after teaching this class and putting together this agenda, knowing the steps that I should take in order to have the most successful open house I possibly can, and still not done all the steps, right? And here's what I'll tell you. I can definitely feel the difference in my confidence level and just overall connectiveness or lack thereof that I have with clients when I have fully prepared for an open house or compared to when I'm the type of person who screeches up curbside with seconds to spare from the open house opening and I rush in and open up the door and I'm just kind of hanging out. waiting for the clock to click, clock down or tick down, the 2 hours, right? There is a big difference. So pick a price range with a lot of active buyers. Choose newly listed homes or homes that have had a recent price reduction, because we all know after price reduction, usually there's an uptick in showings or interest. And then look for homes so when I would hold listings for other agents, I would go online and I would take a look and see how the pictures looked online. Like, was it being presented in the best light possible, or were they those pictures that we all, see and want to like shout in horror, where it's, you can see the realtor taking the picture in the bathroom mirror, right? We've all seen those. Or there's the dirty underwear laying in the middle of the bedroom that, someone forgot to pick up. So I wanted to, when I had my choice of open houses to choose from, I wanted to see, what did the online presence look like? Did it look like something I would want to go see, or something I would want to go and show one of my buyers? And then as I began to get traction, here's what I did. I started holding 2 open houses. So at first I started doing 1 open house on every Sunday. Then I started doing 2 every Sunday. I would do like a 10 to 12, and then a 12:30 to 2:30, or an 11 to 1, and then a 3 to 5. And then as I started getting busier and busier, I did 2 on Sunday, 1 on Saturday. And then I got to the point to where I was doing 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. I know that sounds crazy, but guys, I didn't have to do that for very long, right? Because as my business started to grow, I didn't need to rely on open houses alone to lead generate, to find new business. And then when my husband got into the business with me, what we would do is we would each hold open houses near each other in similar price points, and we would push people back and forth between them. So if someone came into my open house and said, Erin, I love this house, it's right in my price point, but there's only 3 bedrooms up and I really want a 4th. I'd be like, oh, you need to go see Steve at 123 Maple, a half mile away, because what you're describing is the house that he's holding open right now. Would you like me to text you the address? So if you can partner with another team member, or you're in business with your spouse or someone else that you just want to partner with in the office, and be strategic in the way that you do open houses, consider maybe doing something like that. All right. Any more questions before I go on to the next screen here?
Just a comment. Before I had my real estate license and my husband and I were looking to buy our first house, there were a couple of times when we went to open houses and there were agents that had been in the business for a long time who were very condescending and just not fun to encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And so just when you were speaking about, know your stuff, be friendly, it's so important that we never lose the interest and the willingness to teach, learn, coach new people who are just exploring home buying.
100%. Amen and hallelujah. I so agree, Tasha. And I would venture to say that's why you've been such a successful agent, is that you recognize that early on. Because to your point, and this is just me and my personality, I go off on bunny trails. So you just helped me circle back to a point I was trying to make earlier, but didn't get to. Human nature kicks in, we get lazy, right? I've done it before. I haven't prepared like I should. People will come through the open house, and if I haven't done my homework, or if I'm not in the mood to like pour into someone like a first-time home buyer and educate them on the market, I'm likely not going to hold their interest for very long. But I can promise you this: every single first-time home buyer who I took the time to actually educate on the market, and I'm not talking about doing like this huge deep dive or this, huge, seminar in the midst of an open house. But if I just took the time to kind of educate them on the process, what to expect, earnest money, inspection, offer to line them up with a loan officer, educate them on what else is available in the market, I knew that if they weren't working with anyone and I took the time and spent that time pouring into them and educating them, chances were, even if they went to 5 other open houses that day, nobody else was doing that. And so they would remember me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that you said that, because it's very true. It's very true. It'll always come back to you twofold too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next, what you want to do, once you've picked a winner and you've been strategic about the kind of open house, you're being consistent, is you want to gather your tools. And sometimes I would be gathering my tools the morning of, which is not a good thing. I don't recommend it, because then you show up to your open house frazzled, right? So as much in advance as possible. And what we started doing, and this was a team decision, like back in the day, I don't even know if anyone does this anymore. Tasha, maybe you do, and you can shed some light on this. But back in the day, when I first got into the business, we would have these brochure holders, and we would like shove brochures into the brochure holders on all of our listings. And that was just, we did it because everyone else did, right? And then I had an aha moment a few years into the business. And also, by the way, we had to pay extra for those brochure boxes to be installed on top of our signs. It was like $5 a listing or whatever. I had an aha, and I thought, I don't want to necessarily have brochures out in front of the house and have it so readily available for people to like rule it out curbside. I want them to come through the house. So we no longer provide flyers. We haven't for years, but we no longer provide flyers on the outside of the house, because I want them to have a reason to call me, or I want them to have a reason to circle back and come to the open house that I'm advertising that weekend. But you do want colored flyers printed and, at the ready inside your open house. And a lot of newer agents don't realize that, like, Winnie, if you were holding one of Tasha's listings open, you can take the information from MLS. You can use the pictures that she has from MLS and put your name, your email, your picture, your contact information on the flyer and take it to the open house for you and hand those out during the open. Now, what I will caution you, newer agents, with is make sure you remove that when you leave, because that can sometimes get confusing for a seller. So if Tasha allows you the opportunity to hold her open house open and you go out there and you take flyers and then you leave them behind and the seller comes home, sometimes that can confuse them. Well, I thought Tasha was my agent. Like, is Winnie my agent? Is Tasha my agent? Like, what? So always be very, very, very sensitive and respectful, especially when you're doing open houses for another agent. And what I mean by respectful is give them timely feedback, right? Make sure that you arrive early, that you lock up, that everything is secured, everything is shut off, and that you remove anything that you take in there with you. Because if you don't and you're sloppy, they're likely not going to want to give you an open house opportunity again in the future. So I systematized my open houses. I would make sure I just did all of those things that I listed. And then every Sunday night I had a routine. I would sit down and I would send an email to the listing agent and I would say, hey, here's some feedback for the sellers. This was, either negative, positive feedback. By the way, we had 8 groups through. One seemed interested. One might come back with their agent. Now, any of those names that are unrepresented, you guys keep. You don't give them to the agent whose listing it is, right? The expectation is you're doing them a favor by holding an open house for them because they can't or they don't want to, and they're doing you a favor by you being allowed to hold that open house, generate leads, and then you get to keep those leads because you were the source of generating them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions around that at all? Okay.
No.
Awesome.
All right. Are you going to cover open house registration or notepad?
I
Are
am.
you-
I love where you're at. I am gonna cover
Okay.
that. Thank you for bringing that up. So colored flyers, make sure you have those with you. Another thing that I would do is I would print a list of what I call alternative homes just above and just below the price point of the house that I'm holding open. And here's why I would do that. Guys, 9 times out of 10, the buyers coming through your open house, the open house not going to work for them for one reason or another. Either they need the 3rd stall garage, they need the private master bath, they need an extra bedroom, they want to walk out, not an egress, whatever the case may be. So you want to be armed with when they walk through the open house and you say, so what do you think about the house? And they say, well, I really want a 3rd stall garage. You can say, okay, well, are you wanting to be in Lakeville or are you wanting to be in Apple Valley? Yeah. Okay, great. You know what? There is a house that I previewed or that I'm aware of or that's coming soon, whatever. In other words, do your homework of what else is in the area, right? And you can say, I closed the open house at 2:00 today. I could meet you there at 2:15. It sounds like it has exactly what you're looking for. Are you interested in seeing it today? Okay, so have those list of alternative homes either committed to memory or have them printed so that you can look at them or refer to them while you're in the open house. Okay, we talked about signs already. Put out as many as your budget will allow and get them out early. Don't feel like you can only put them up right before the open house. Now, the one in the yard, you don't want to put up until you're opening the house, but the other ones, like on the cross streets and whatnot, put those up early. Maximize your visibility for the day or for the weekend. I have, little things that are kind of commonsensical on here. Wear a name tag, have business cards, open house registration or notepad. Here is where I will share with you what I've done over the years, and then you guys will have to determine for yourselves what makes sense for you. I've done it both ways. Tasha, I'm not sure what you do, but I've had open houses where I had quote unquote required registration. I've had open houses where I just have the registration laying on the counter and either they fill it out or they don't. And I have open houses where I don't have out anything at all. And here's what I'll say is I'll give you the pros and cons of both, and then you just have to decide what makes the most sense for you. Okay. I look at people coming through my open houses through a lens of how would I want to be approached? How would I want to be treated when I'm coming through an open house? Right. And I'm sure you ladies, we love to shop. We all have been in that situation where you're walking through a department store, you're on a mission, you're in a hurry, and a super sweet, friendly salesperson comes up and says, "Hi, are you looking for anything in particular?" And what is our canned response?
No, thanks. I'm just looking.
Yeah, exactly. I'm get out of my way. I'm in a hurry. I'm just looking. I know what I want, right? And sometimes we might not know what we're looking for, right? But we're just going to say, "No, thanks, just looking." Well, here's what I'll tell you. When it comes to an open house, if you force someone to register, do you really think that they're likely going to give you accurate information?
No.
Probably
They don't
not.
want to.
Probably not. So what I choose to do, this is what I do now. And again, please hear me when I say there's nothing wrong with having a registration if that's what you decide to do. Okay. I'm just telling you what works for me. What works better for me is we have this thing called a disc, and you can go to tonyrobbins.com and take the disc for free. I believe Burnsville, you have the ability to take, I don't think they charge anything. We have an Abelson disc that I think we have a membership to. Ask Taylor about it. I was first introduced to the disc when I came to Keller Williams, and I was just completely enamored with it because I just love studying the way people think, right? I'm a people person. In case it's not abundantly clear, I'm like an off the charts ID. So I love people, but I'm very direct and very driven. So I loved studying the DISC because it goes over all of the different personality profiles, right? The D is for direct, driven, like you're a go-getter. The I is interpersonal, you're an influencer, you're the life of the party, you love people. The S is you're very systems oriented and everything needs to be systematic in your world in order for you to operate and function. And C is the rule follower. They're very compliant. They're the ones that make sure the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, things of that nature. And typically speaking, we fall into like two of those categories predominantly, right? So here's what I did. Again, guys, this was all by mistake. I first started open houses and I would greet people at the door with, "Hi, I'm Erin with Keller Williams. Thank you so much for coming out to the open house. What brings you out today?" And I would meet them with all of this energy because that's who I am naturally. And I'm the type of person when I meet you, if I like you, you're immediately my new best friend. But what I didn't recognize was it wasn't the same for them. Like my experience wasn't their experience, right? And so with some of these people, I would connect right away. And it was like taking candy from a baby. And I could pick up clients very easily whose disc profiles were in alignment with mine. But I was losing half of the other people because I was meeting them with all of this gregariousness and high energy. And they were likely an S or a C. And they were probably like, "Slow your roll, sister. Like, take it down a notch or 20." Like I scared them when I met them with all that energy. And it probably came across as very like disingenuous, right? Like I'm trying to sell them. So I started to recognize patterns when I would hold open houses. And I was really kind of befuddled, like, why is it so easy for me to pick up some people? And it seems like the other ones just run in the opposite direction. And what I discovered was as I started to dive deeper into the disc and learn more about the disc, I realized how important it was to begin to mirror and match people and meet them where they are, not where I thought they were or I thought they should be. And so instead of having an open house registration, what I do now is within about 2 to 3 questions. So I'll greet them at the front door. Hi, welcome. I'll hand them a flyer. I'll say something like, I just want to hand you a flyer with some of the amenities of the house. There are a few that might not necessarily be just readily apparent to you as you're walking through the home. Just know that I'm here to answer any questions should you have any, and feel free to take as much time as you like. I step away. I give them their space. For the love of God, I give them their space because I didn't do that in the beginning. And I go hang out somewhere central in the home, like the kitchen or the great room or whatever, and I let them go do their thing. And then as they naturally have to circle back to the hub of the home, I might sprinkle them with a question or two. So, what has you out looking today? That might reveal, are they a relocation and they're in town for the weekend? They have to find something right away. Is it, they have someone graduating high school this year and they're looking to downsize? Is it a divorce? I mean, it depends, right? Because not everyone is going to be um, as loose lipped as I am with information. They might hold it pretty tight to the chest. Well, if I have someone who's holding it pretty tight to the chest, then I know they're probably an S or a C. If I have someone who tells me their whole life story, then I know they're likely a high I. If I have someone who's like, just give me the numbers, square footage, price per square footage, and they want that kind of detail, they're probably a D. They're just very direct. They have no desire for all the fluff. They just want the information, right? And so what I would do is I would then, within a question or two, pretty quickly figure out where they fall on that DISC profile, and then I would begin to mirror and match. So if I ran into a high S or a C, then the tone of my voice will come down. My speech will slow down. I won't talk with as an excited of a pace, and I'm going to stick to a more sort of monotone conversation like that. If it's someone with a lot of energy, it's going to be a party inside my open house. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad I met you. And, there's this, and this, and da, da, da. And if it's a high D, I'm just going to start rattling off. Year built 1982, 2,800 square feet, price per square foot on average is $85 a square foot, things of that nature. So here's what I found, that by implementing that, instead of requiring that they register, I was much more likely to build rapport with them if I met them where they were. And then if I coupled that with being that educator that we talked about, if they weren't working with someone, they were mine to lose at that point, because I was able to build rapport very quickly with them. Now, here's the other thing that might go against the grain from what you learned in real estate school or what you've been told is, please stop, if you've started already, asking them the second they walk in the door if they're working with someone. I think real estate school has scared us so much that we're like, that's the first question that comes out of our mouth. Now, don't misunderstand that to say that if you find out they're working with someone, we all know what we're supposed to do, right? And what's that? What are we supposed to do if we find out they're under contract with someone? Who wants to be brave and answer that question? I know Tasha knows the answer. I'm looking at the other two young ladies.
You you back off, right? You're still there to answer questions and stuff, but that's it.
You got it. Perfect.
Right.
Perfect answer, Winnie. So if we know that they're under contract, if they've shared that with us, or we found out in some other way, like hands off, you're there to provide the information because of course you want to represent the seller well and provide that data. So remember when I talked about how you go into a store and someone says, can I help you? And you say, just looking. If the first question out of your mouth, or within the first 5 minutes of meeting someone at an open house, you say, are you working with someone? Their answer is going to be yes. Yeah. And that is akin to them saying, no, thanks, just looking. Mm-hmm. Even if they're not working with someone, they're going to tell you that they are, because you have not taken a rapport with them yet. And as soon as they tell you they're working with someone, what do we have to do?
Back off.
Right. So don't do that to yourself. Don't have that be your first question, because whether they're working with someone or not, they're likely going to say that they are. So here's how you find out if they're working with someone without asking that question. When they come through the kitchen and you say, well, what did you think of the house? And they make a comment, well, it's perfect except for this. And you have your list of all, see how this is all coming together now? And you have your list of alternative homes, and you could say, well, Tasha, I understand that a private master bath is really important to you. You know what? I am aware of another home not far from here that has that private master bath that's in this price point, I would love to show it to you. Would you like me to show it to you when I lock up here at 2 o'clock? Now, if Tasha's working with someone, do you think it might come out at that point?
Yeah,
It should.
it
It
should.
should, right? It should. And even if it didn't, I'm willing to go on one showing and do one showing with her, right? Because if she likes that house and she has to write an offer, think it might come out then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you might have something called procuring cause, which I won't even get into. That's a whole nother class. But my point is, there are things that you can ask without shooting yourself in the foot that should lead you to uncover whether or not they're working with someone legitimately. But don't ask that question and put the kibosh on your ability to build the rapport. Make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So that is my take on open house registration. Do with it what you will. Mix it up. Try one, don't try one. You know, again, over the years, I've gone back and forth, back and forth. I finally have gotten to the point to where I have my list of questions. I'm really pretty good at the disc right now, and that seems to work for me. All right. So you've gathered your tools, you've secured your open house. My next piece of advice is to start advertising it early. So remember how I told you I had sort of systematized open houses. So every Monday morning, I would find and secure and lock down my open house. As soon as I locked down my open house, I would post it on MLS, or I would add, if it wasn't my listing, I would ask the listing agent to post, hey, you know, open house Sunday 2 to 4. Okay. Also, you want to advertise it on social media. You guys can run boosted Facebook ads if you want through command, or you can just post it to your social media, but share it. You can also door knock and invite neighbors. Statistics say that anytime a house goes for sale in a neighborhood, within 90 days, 3 more houses go for sale. So even if you're door knocking under the guise of, hi, I'm Erin, please come to my open house from 12 to 2, really what you're doing is you're inviting them and doing lead generation at the same time, right? So you're doing double time there. Put your signs out early. We talked about that. You can hang open house riders from your sign if you want to on, you know, Monday or Tuesday, advertising that there's an open house there that weekend. And then you can also get on the phones and circle, what we call circle prospect. Do you guys know what circle prospecting is?
No.
No. Okay. So there are services that you can subscribe to where you can put in the address of the home that you're going to hold open, and it will pop up names, addresses, and phone numbers of homes within like a half-mile radius, a mile radius, a 2-mile radius. You can determine the radius, and then you can call those people and say, here's a script. Hi, Mary. This is Erin from Keller Williams Preferred. I'm going to be holding an open house in and around your neighborhood this weekend. And oftentimes we find that neighbors love to pick their new neighbors. I just wanted to extend an invitation to you. I'm going to be there this Saturday from 12 to 2. I'd love to have you join us. They'll either say yes, no, maybe. While I have you on the phone, statistics show that when a home goes on the market within 90 days, 3 other homes pop on the market. Have you yourself thought about selling recently? Again, you're doing double time. You're inviting them to the open house and you're doing lead generation. Okay. Am I going too fast, guys?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So the other thing, especially for new agents, you guys are your bibis, right? You're just learning. Everything's new to you right now. It probably feels like you're drinking from a fire hose. If it doesn't, there's something wrong, because it should. So what I say is make previewing homes a part of your daily routine. So as a new agent, when I didn't have any business, I focused on open houses. And then I would pick 3 homes to go and walk through and preview on my way to the office every day. And I would preview 3 homes on my way home from the office every day, because I had nothing else to do. So I might as well be in houses looking at them and previewing them. And by doing that and implementing that strategy, it allowed me to get to know the market very, very well, very, very quickly. So there was a point in time, and I'm somewhat removed from this now. For those of you who don't know, I'm the team leader. So I'm Melissa's role in the Rochester Market Center, but I have a team in the Burnsville office. I guess I probably should have shared that with you guys in the beginning. So I'm not doing open houses every weekend anymore. Again, what I shared with you in the beginning, if you guys implement this and you really go at it hard and systematically the first couple of years, you will get to a point to where you don't have to be doing them in that manner for very long, right? Because other lead generation sources you'll be able to layer in, and you don't just have to rely on open houses. But in the beginning, when I didn't have that business and I had nothing but time on my hands, it was important for me to get to know the market really well. And there was a point in time in real estate, especially in Lakeville where I live, and I would say most parts of Apple Valley and Farmington, I knew every single thing on the market. I had the price points. Like, I wouldn't necessarily even have to go walk through a home to be able to tell a seller what they could put it on the market for, because I had my finger on the pulse so well. And part of that was my daily routine of going in and previewing homes. Did you guys know Winnie and forgive me, I've already forgotten your name. Who's sitting next to Tasha?
Tara.
Tara
Yes.
with a T. Okay.
Yes.
If you guys don't realize this yet, Winnie and Tara, you can schedule previews on homes. Do you guys know what that means?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you can go walk through a home to just preview it. You don't necessarily have to have a buyer that you're showing it to, right? And so I would go and preview homes because I had no idea. I'll never forget going on my first office tour. We went and toured 5 homes, and these agents who were hosting like broker opens had sheets for us to fill out on what we thought about price and condition and whatnot. I had no idea how houses should be priced. And so the best way for me to learn the value of homes was to get through as many as I possibly could so that I can compare them to other homes in that price range. Okay. Research MLS for current actives in the price range you're going to be holding open. Know your competition inside and out. Research MLS for recent sales in the neighborhood and price range. You don't want to get stuck at an open house where you're holding it open and someone walks through and says, well, what was that? What's that house listed at 3 doors down? And then you're gonna have that deer in the headlights. Like, ugh, that means you haven't done your research. Now, what's different about today than when I first got to the business is we have our apps and you can look that stuff up from your cell phones really, really quickly. But I would say that you're going to come across as much more professional and polished if you don't have to pull out your cell phone and look something up and you just know it, right? Because here's what clients are looking for when they come through open houses. They're looking for agents who come across as knowledgeable and polished. And if you know your stuff, my 4 sons are all in real estate, and a couple of them got in at a really young age. And their greatest fear when they got into real estate was their appearance because they looked very young. And what I would coach them on and tell them is age will disappear if you show up with confidence and you're knowledgeable. Like, if you know that market inside and out, and a seller's asking you questions or a buyer's asking you questions, and they view you as a resource that they can go to answer their questions whenever they have them, all of a sudden age doesn't matter. People just want to do business with people who they feel are going to take good care of them, right? So if you don't have to pull out gadgets and you can just right off the top of your head say, oh, well, that house listed 3 doors down is on at 349.9, and here's why. It has the extra bedroom upstairs, or whatever the case may be. Okay. And then the last thing on the screen that I'm going to recommend is that you familiarize yourself with the schools that are attached and any neighborhood amenities. I learned this one the hard way, guys. I was holding a house open in a neighborhood one time and I didn't do all my homework. And it was a neighborhood that had a neighborhood park and pool. I had no idea. It wasn't my listing, but I should have done my homework. And so when they asked about what the cost was for, the monthly cost was to, for the pool and things in the neighborhood, I was like, oh, you know what? I don't have that information. If you want to leave me your email and your contact, I'll be sure to email that to you this evening. Instead of being able to say and recite all the information that I knew about the neighborhood amenities and pool. So I would say you can, with Google, within a matter of minutes, get all of that information ahead of time. It used to be that you have to hop in the car and drive around to go figure it out. And now, with all of our technology that we have these days, I would say if you spent no more than 30 minutes every week researching the house you're going to hold open, if you're not familiar with it, you should be able to learn all you need to learn in order to come across as very knowledgeable when you hold that house open. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay, awesome. Either I'm hitting it out of the park or I lost you guys a long time ago. I'm going to go with hitting it out of the park.
Yes.
All right. Morning of your open house. We talked about putting signs out early, as many as possible. Dress the part and project a professional image. I'm not saying that the guys have to wear a 3-piece suit and the ladies have to have on a dress and heels every single time you have an open house. However, you want to be at a minimum business casual, right? My husband came from the corporate world before he got to real estate. And so he was a suit, coat, and a tie everywhere he went. And I finally talked him into just relaxing a little bit and wearing like the professional polo instead. And I know for a fact that that made him more approachable. So you don't want to overdress. You certainly don't want to show up in shorts and flip flops, right? And so you just want to make sure that you're projecting that professional image. Arrive early to set the stage. So my worst open houses are when I fly out of the house, I grab all my stuff on my way out the door, and I pull up at 12 o'clock for a 12 o'clock open house. And then I've got maybe 2 or 3 cars out front or in the driveway, and they're on my heels as my hands are full of my morning coffee, my flyers, my cell phone, as I'm trying to unlock the front door. I It's just not a good way to start, right? Like you want to get there, you want to set the stage, you want to turn on the lights, you want to lay out your flyers so that when you open up, you can greet people and give them the time and the attention that they deserve. Okay?
And also, Tara and Winnie, people like to show up early for open houses.
They do. They
And
do.
then if you weren't 15 minutes early, then so even if you thought you were early by being 10 minutes early,
You're not.
they're 10 minutes early and leave you, and then you're flustered anyway. So
Yeah.
15 is really good.
Good point, Tasha. And I would say, especially when you're holding an open house for someone else, you want to be early. Like you don't want, because sometimes the sellers will wait there till you get there, and you don't want the seller calling Tasha because you held her house open and saying, Tasha, Tara was 10 minutes late to the open house. That leaves egg on Tasha's face, and she'll be very unhappy. That's not going to be a good, professional projection upon you and also the brokerage. So be extra sensitive when you're holding open houses for other agents. Okay. All right. Turn on the game or soft music. If it's Viking season, have the game on. Some of the folks will stay a little bit longer, maybe hang out a little bit longer. Turn on some soft music if maybe you're backed up to a busy road. Like you're not trying to hide it, but you can certainly maybe help mitigate some of that. Put your flyers out, your business cards out. And then I like to get there early too, because if I didn't have an opportunity to go and walk through the house prior to my open house, if I've never been in it before, sometimes it's nice to just familiarize myself with the layout and the amenities. So getting there early allows me to do that. All right. You're open for business now. What? Greet each guest with a warm welcome and eye contact, offer the flyer and additional details. We talked about that. We also talked about assess the guest based on the DISC study, familiarize yourself with the DISC. I promise you, knowing it will make you a better agent, not only for your clients, but even when you're interacting with other agents. So do that quick needs analysis, like why are they there? What are they looking for? Offer to provide additional information on your list of alternative homes. And then here's something that I learned from my husband. And this was, guys, after we had been in the business for a while, just flat out ask for the business. One time we were in an open house and I could feel like things were going really well, but I wasn't quite like locking them in. And they did talk about how they weren't working with anyone, but they had talked to a couple of different agents. And my husband just out of nowhere very boldly said, well, like we'd love to be your real estate agents. Would you be interested in working with us? I was so uncomfortable. I was like, and I just kind of like held my breath waiting for the response, because I had never been quite that bold before. And the guy looked at my husband and shook his hand, put his hand out, shook his hand. And he's like, you know what? We've been to several open houses today, and you're the first agent who's asked us that question. We would love to work with you. I was like, oh my goodness, it's really that easy? Okay. So the moral of that story is don't be afraid to ask for the business. And the goal is to get their contact information to set an appointment. Okay. All right. We're in the home stretch here, ladies. Boom. Watch out for creepers. Of course, first and foremost, we always want to put safety first. Anytime, here's what I'll tell you. I've had to call the police only at one open house, and it was a lady who I caught trying to steal prescription drugs out of my seller's kitchen cabinets. And I had a gut feeling about her when she came in. And so here's what I'll say. Anytime you have that gut feeling, listen to it and get yourself in a safe place, remove yourself from the situation, lock the door, close up early. I don't care if the open house is scheduled from 1 to 2 and at 1:30 you have a really uneasy feeling, lock the door, leave, get somewhere safe, and then call the listing agent and explain what happened. Like your safety comes first. Always your safety comes first. So, let people know ahead of time that you're going to be holding an open house, where you're going to be holding it, that they should be aware that you're going to check in with them afterwards. Becoming familiar with the floor plan. When I go into a home that I'm holding open and it's got a walkout basement, I go down there, I make sure that all the doors are locked except for the front door so that people aren't coming and going when I'm busy upstairs. Consider having someone, do the open house with you if you're feeling uncomfortable. Did you want to add something, Tasha?
I did. Familiarizing yourself with the floor plan. I always try to make sure that I'm by a door, the second door. So maybe not the front door, but I try not to let any person get between me and the door. And I keep my car key and my phone on me the entire time in case I do have to get out of the house.
100%. You have your car keys with you that have the alarm on it. You can hit one of those buttons, make an alarm go off. And then the other thing is too, I'm not a fan of bringing, unless I'm doing an open house with my husband. First of all, I never bring in my purse. That stays in my trunk. And I don't just have it in my car where people can see it when they walk by, like it's locked in my trunk and you can't see it. And I don't bring a laptop or a computer of any kind in unless I'm with my husband, because there are people that go through open houses to distract you and that stuff will grow legs and walk away. So just don't even give them a reason to have to do anything like that. So your keys, your cell phone, your flyers are all really that you need.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's where we win the game, ladies. It's in the follow-up. And I cannot tell you how many clients that I have picked up over the years who have said, you're the only one who's followed up with me. And that honestly just crushes my heart because it's such a simple thing to do. Yet we get so busy with other things, or we lack the confidence, especially in the beginning, that we don't follow up. And so that's where a lot of agents fail. So what I do after an open house is I immediately put them into my database and set them up on a drip campaign, or now we're calling them smart plans. Okay. Get into the habit of setting up contacts on the automated search in MLS. And I do that the same evening of my open house, or I would just do it every Sunday night if I did opens on Saturday and Sunday. Then I would immediately start networking with other agents for coming soon listings. Now you can check the MLS for coming soon listings. We didn't have that before, that you can tell sellers about in order to try and schedule a second showing. And then create a task to follow up with them within the first 24 hours of the open house. Hey, thank you so much for coming out. I understand this is what you're looking for. I've taken the liberty, since the open house to, search our MLS, and there are 3 other homes that meet your criteria. When would you like to meet me to go and take a peek at them? Okay.
So I have a question about the automated thing. So you do you ask them if they want to receive the automated email, or do you just set them up if they gave you their email address?
Well, here's how I do that. Winnie, thanks so much for coming through the open house today. I understand that you're looking for a home in Lakeville, anywhere between 325 and 350 with 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Do you happen to have an email address you can give me real quick? I don't ask for it. I don't say, would you give me? I say, can you give me your email address real quick? They're just going to follow suit, guys. So you're going to give me your email address. And then I say, here's what I'm going to do, Winnie. I'm going to set you up on an automated search. And this isn't a Zillow or an MLS.com where the data is frequently inaccurate. It's showing homes that are available that really aren't. What I'm going to do, Winnie, is I'm going to connect you to our private MLS system that only agents can grant access to. And this data in this MLS system is updated every hour. And so when I connect you to the system and it starts sending you potential listings, you'll know the exact status of it. And if at some point the status changes, you'll be notified of that as well. So I'm going to set you up on this tonight. So just know that in the next 24 hours, you're likely going to see that email. So see what I did there? I didn't ask for permission to do it. I just told them I was going to do it. Now, could they say, whoa, 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 slow your roll, sister, I'm not interested? Yeah. But 99.9% of the time, they're not going to do that. They're just going to follow suit, because guess what? Everybody wants access to the golden grail, right? Everybody wants access to the place where only realtors have access to in order to get the most updated information. And I'm here to tell you, if I was able to do that and get them on a search and they legitimately weren't working with another agent and I was able to get them in front of them a second time, they were literally mine to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you got to be a little bold.
Okay.
So with that, I say, now go rock your open houses. Any questions?
No, that was an amazing class. I'm like,
Yes.
what other classes do you teach? I need to go watch all of the videos.
You're
All of them.
sweet. You're very sweet. There are a couple other classes I teach. Maybe I'll talk to leadership there and see if I can get on the calendar to teach a few more. But I promise if you guys just focus on this and this alone, you're going to have, it may take you 3-6 months, but I promise you, you're going to have more business than you know what to do with. You really will. I call open houses the low hanging fruit. What do you think, Tasha? Would you say the same thing? It's the low hanging fruit. I mean, those are people, guys, that are raising their hand saying, I want to buy.
Yeah. So I
Right?
did have another question. So aside from going into the office and meeting agents, like I put a thing on Facebook, Tiffany and I did an open house together and we loved it. We're like, we're going to do this as a team together. And so we're just like trying to let people know that if you have an open house and you don't want to do it, call us and we'll do it. But are there other ways to get open houses when you don't have any listings of your own?
Yeah, so I would say that just putting something on Facebook alone isn't always going to work. Sometimes it will, right? So
Yeah.
if you do that, which is very wise of you to do, like I think you need to systematize it every Monday morning. Hey, Tiffany and I are looking for an open house. In addition to doing a walkthrough of the office on, here's a good day to do a walkthrough on the office, guys, team meeting day. Everyone's in,
Ooh.
right? A lot of people are in. So what you can do is as people are walking into the team meeting or as people are walking out of the team meeting or just after the team meeting in general, start walking around the office. And, it could be like, hey, Team Lucky Duck, my name's Winnie. I put something out on Facebook earlier this week. I'm still looking for an open house. Do you by any chance have any open house opportunities? I would love to host an open house for you. Right?
Okay.
So again, be that agent that's the go-getter that's going to get the attention of the rainmakers that are going to be like, you know what? Mad respect. She's getting after it. That's who I want to give my open house opportunity to.
Okay. Gonna do that. I'll see you at the next team meeting.
Yay. I love it. Well, I won't be there, but maybe I'll see you virtually.
Yeah.
What
Awesome.
else? Any other questions? We'll stay on here as long as you guys want to. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I understand if you got to go to, we're about 5 minutes past the hour.
I think I'm good with questions. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. We need to get that lunch on the calendar, Missy.
Yes, let's do it.
Tasha,
Thank
great to
you.
meet you.
Erin,
I look forward to meeting all of you guys in person someday soon.
that would be lovely. Erin, I do have one question that's not open house related.
Okay.
So our buyers just missed out on seeing a property tomorrow night because it was sold. So it was at coming soon status and they accepted an offer last night of sight unseen.
I'm hearing more and more of those stories. We all know what's happening.
Yeah. So any suggestions or advice on that?
I mean, it's unfortunate it happens. I think, the association and MLS came up with this coming soon to kind of combat those sort of things happening. And what I mean for you ladies who are wondering, what I'm talking about, we all know that, relationships with other agents are important. And I don't know that I buy the sight unseen. I guess maybe we have to stay in curiosity and assume that that's really what happened. What I would do in that sort of scenario is just call the listing agent and say, hey, my buyers are really disappointed that they didn't get an opportunity to view, the property. Should anything happen with this sale, please, please, please let me know and reach out because they're still very much interested. There's not a whole lot you can do other than, if you find yourself in that situation again, call the listing agent and maybe have the conversation and say, look, the second that thing's not coming soon, we're going to submit an offer sight unseen. It's tough. It's tough out there. We're having to get more and more creative. If Burnsville has not held a class in a while on how to be competitive in multiple offer situations as agents, I would maybe raise your hand and ask Melissa or Taylor, whoever's putting together the training calendar now, to see if someone is willing to put on a class
Sure.
as far as like best practices when multiple offers exist, because fortunately and unfortunately, I think that's going to be a part of the landscape for a while longer.
Yeah.
I mean, listings are where it's at right now, guys. I mean, buyers are great too, but buyers aren't going to do you much good. If my husband Steve had to write 4 offers with our latest client before they got one, and they were going $40,000-$50,000 over list price, and they finally got one. You know how he got it? I'll share with you how he got it. They made an offer first day, 40,000 over, and the agent's like, well, the sellers really like your offer, but we've only been on the market a day and they just kind of want to wait and see. And he's like, tell me where we need to be in order to get this done today. Like, just tell me the number.
Mhm.
And the agent said, let me call the sellers. They gave him a number without it being in a multiple yet. He had a conversation with their buyers and they had already lost out on 3 homes and they agreed to it. So we're finding that we're having to get more and more creative and more bold in order
Did,
to win.
did you have to do an appraisal guarantee on that?
No, no, they
Okay,
didn't, believe it or not.
Okay.
They didn't. Yeah.
okay.
So you can just ask the listing agent, hey man, what do they want?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you
so-
can.
So most listing agents are going to be, if it's a multiple offer situation, they're not going to tell you the number, right?
Right.
Because you're bidding in the dark. But they didn't have another offer yet. And Steve's like, well, look, if they feel like they can get more, like just tell me what the number is, and I'll see if my buyers are willing to go there.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
have a blessed rest of your day, ladies. Thank you. for
thank
spending
you.
time with
You
me.
too.
Thank
All right.
you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.